we have with us again the GAC Emkoo. Let's do a review. The Emkoo is GAC Motor Philippines' entry into the compact SUV segment. With radical styling and almost complete features, it wants to stand out for sure. Let's give this a review. We've already reviewed the base GAC Emkoo GE. This time we have the top-spec GL variant and it's priced at 1,498,000 Philippine pesos. Starting with the exterior, the Emkoo surely wants your attention with its very unique and loud styling. This is basically the same as the lower variant with the full LED headlights but now with LED DRLs. Then we have the V-pattern front grille, and the overall look in front is very concept car-like. On the side, the Emkoo makes use of soft creases for character. Also, the body lines are quite connected. See for yourself. Anyway, this rides on 19-inch two-tone alloy wheels wrapped in GT tires. I'm honestly not a fan of this design though, as it is rather elegant instead of sporty like the rest of the car. And towards the back is my favorite part of the Emkoo with its vertical taillight design, which is very Volvo-like. This area is quite aggressive with the tailgate spoiler and bumper, as well as the sloping design. And once you open the hands-free power tailgate on this variant, it reveals a good amount of space for the segment. The sloping roof does however eat into the space, but overall, it's pretty good. And now we're inside the Emkoo GL. So this is pretty much the same as well if you look at the lower variant, but there are a few differences here and there which does make this a better place to be in. So first, let's talk about the design. So it's basically the same when it comes to that. So we still have this layered dashboard look over here with the plenty of soft touch materials everywhere. So there is no shortage when it comes to soft touch materials or premium feeling materials inside this cabin. And actually this material here in the dashboard is pretty nice. So it's not leather, but it does feel pretty good, and it has red stitching as well. So there are options for the interior of this car. This one gets the black interior option with red stitching for a sportier feel. And just like that variant, we do have the same steering wheel with red stitching as well, leather wrap, tilt and telescopic adjustable, and then our very nice GAC horn. So that sounds pretty nice. And then we have a 7-inch digital instrument cluster over there, which does show us pretty much everything that we need to see or rather know about this car, the trip computer, TPMS, and other information. And again, I feel like it is a bit small, especially for this variant, the top of the line variant. I wish they put a bigger one over here, but we still have the same 7-inch from the lower variant. Then here in the center, we also have the same infotainment system. It's, I believe, a 10-inch screen. If not 10, it's maybe 11, but yeah, around that size. And we still have those thick bezels on the side with our fan speed controls for the aircon and our volume control on the right side. And again, the screen is pretty good as it is. It's very responsive. It has Apple CarPlay and it's very easy to navigate. But again, I wish it was bigger as well for this variant. And then moving down, let's go back to the design because we do have this spot over here which GAC says is inspired by Chinese scrolls. So I do see it over there and it does look pretty good as well. And this time the vents here do not just randomly fall down, unlike in the other test drive unit that we tried. Then we have here in the center our automatic aircon control, so let's just lower that for now. Then on the right, our temperature adjustment, which is quite unique compared to what we see in any other vehicle. And then the rest of this is pretty much the same. So we have a space for our phone here, no wireless charger. We have our push start button, we have our hazard button right next to that. So not exactly the safest place to put them close to each other. We have that electronic gear shifter, same thing that we see in every other GAC vehicle. We have 2 cup holders, a little bit of storage here. I was able to fit here perfectly McDonald's twister fries, so that's actually quite nice. Then we have our center armrest here with loads of storage underneath, loads of storage under the center console as well. With this time we have a USB-C port, unlike in the other vehicle. And then I'm sure you've noticed the roof because we do have a panoramic glass roof in this car. It doesn't open, so it's just a roof, but it does let a lot of light into this cabin. It feels so much better to have this as well. And also, since many of you asked, this one does not let the heat in, so you can actually use this even under the direct sunlight. And of course, for the seats, we do have the same seats, but this time they are leather wrapped completely and perforated because they are ventilated as well. And of course they feel the same, so very comfortable, very soft, but the leather material is elevated a lot more, and the ventilation is a very nice feature to have, of course. And lastly, before we go to the back, this does have a 6-speaker audio system this time. So the other one only had 4 speakers. This time it's 6, and it does sound so much better as well. And now we're at the back of the Emkoo GL, and compared to the lower variant, again, this only has a few changes as well. So the panoramic glass roof, which really elevates the experience here inside the vehicle, and the leather seat. So other than that, it's very much identical to the other one. So we have 2 aircon vents, a USB port, and no center armrest as well. So I was expecting that at least here in this variant we would have it, but we still don't have an armrest over here. And then materials are the same as in front. So we have soft touch plastic, soft touch leather on the doors, and we have that really unique handle, or whatever you should call this now, so door opener or what. Yeah, so you just pull it like that and you can open the door. So it's very unique. It's not the usual as well that you'd find in most other vehicles on the market today. And when it comes to space, you can see that I have loads of space over here. So the floor is completely flat, so that allows for more comfort for 3 people over here. And then we have loads of foot room, leg room is pretty good, knee room excellent, headroom also pretty good, as you can see. So there really isn't a problem here in this vehicle other than the rather high window line over here. And we're back on the road, and right now we're currently stuck in traffic. But anyway, let's talk about how this drives, because this does feel pretty familiar because we've already reviewed the lower variant of the Emkoo. So as expected, this feels pretty much the same because we do have the same engine. So that's a 1.5 liter turbocharged gasoline engine that produces 177 horsepower and 270 Newton meters of torque, paired to a 7-speed wet dual clutch transmission. And I'll start with what I don't like about driving this car, and it's actually being stuck in traffic inside the city, because the dual clutch transmission does have the tendency to be a bit jerky. It does have the tendency to delay you while you are trying to accelerate from a stop, and if ever you do push it too hard, it's gonna end up surging forward with lots of power, which will end up with you stepping on the brakes suddenly, and that's not exactly the best feeling to have. And also, driving this on provincial highways, which we were able to experience this time, shows that you really do need to have paddle shifters, because for one thing, when you want to do sudden overtakes, you cannot do that instantly, so it will have a little bit of delay in that part because you cannot downshift, so the transmission has to decide whether to shift down or not. And once the road clears up, that's when you will discover that this is actually pretty nice to drive, especially when it comes to highway driving, because I was able to take it on the highway this time and I really enjoyed driving this there. Power and torque delivery are actually quite excellent when you're driving on the highway, or rather at higher speeds. So that's something that surprised me because I wasn't able to do it before, but this time I must say that the Emkoo did redeem itself somehow. But the rest of it does feel pretty much the same as the lower variant, which we reviewed before. So ride quality and VH insulation are all good, so there is no problem at all when it comes to those parts of the vehicle. Of course, it's a very quiet place to be. You can barely hear the engine unless you're driving inside the city, and it absorbs all the road imperfections pretty well. One thing though I didn't realize before is when it comes to visibility, while it's overall pretty good, the rear has really poor visibility when it is raining on the highway. So we don't have a rear wiper, and that really affects because you cannot see anything out the back. And there are times that the rear camera will end up covered because of the dirt. So once that's covered up and the windshield is wet, you won't be able to see anything out back. But yeah, overall, so once you do take this out on the highway and once you get used to driving it, it's actually a pretty good car to drive. It's still not the best, honestly, and I'd still prefer something like the GS3 M Zoom, but yeah, so this does provide pretty much a good driving experience. And then with fuel economy, so inside the city, we're able to get a very good number. So that's 11 kilometers per liter, surprisingly, with heavy traffic conditions in bad weather. And on the highway, we were able to achieve 16 kilometers per liter. That one is not the best, I think. I think we should be able to achieve more than that, but that is what we were able to get for ourselves. And before we end, let's talk about the driver assistance tech on this car, because just like the lower variant, this is a complete package when it comes to that. So we have adaptive cruise control, of course, we have autonomous emergency braking, traffic jam assist, really all that you can ask for when it comes to driver assist technologies. And I did notice that the adaptive cruise control may be a little bit of an older technology because it's the one that suddenly brakes, doesn't accelerate on time, so I think it just needs some recalibration with the brand. I think they can still improve that for sure. Then the autonomous emergency braking also, that one, it's actually pretty good because it's not like in other vehicles that just suddenly stop you out of nowhere once you get close to another vehicle. It doesn't overly warn you. It only warns you and stops when it really has to, which is, I think, the right thing to do. Actually, the only time it worked in my more than 1 week test drive with this was when a motorcycle cut me off the other day. But other than that, it never happened, which is quite unusual compared to other vehicles. Compared to the other variant we've reviewed before, the Emkoo has somewhat redeemed itself this time. This variant finally gives you a rather complete package and makes sure you're not left wanting for more. Still though, like I said, GAC will have to improve how this drives inside the city. Otherwise, this is a very good choice.